So a home has been said to be a man's castle. I mean, since and the founding of this nation, we have always believed that indispensable component of a so-called American dream is um, home ownership. And whether you rent or your own, a stable home provides a shelter from the elements of nature for the entire family, and a comfort and security and stability that you need for any kind of stable life. And the freedom and independence from potential hostile forces of nature or forces of the, society, such as criminals or occasionally over reach of the government. Of course, and our legal history and tradition provides for additional protections in that circumstance for you when you are in your own home, as opposed to outside your house. And like anything else, there is any kind of valuable service or goods, there's price tag associated with whether owning your own house or renting your home from somebody else. The median sales price of a single family house in the United States right now is about $250,000. It probably has gone up a little bit, but for simplicity and purpose, let's just stick these numbers so I can illustrate the economics of owning that home in the next few slides. It's about $100,000 in West Virginia, but it's about $600,000 median single-family home sales price in Hawaii. What does that mean? Median sales price meaning half of the houses are sold below that price and half of the houses are sold above that price. And median nationwide monthly rent for one bedroom apartment is about $950,000. For 200-bedroom apartment, $1,200. Of course, there are huge regional differences. Apartment in Manhattan is definitely going to be more expensive, most likely, than apartment stay in most parts of rural America. And whether you should should be buy or to rent your house. There are many factors going to that decision. First, it's like where you are in your personal life, in your family life. Are you a college student? Or are you a retiree and who may not have time and frankly energy to take care of a house, or your family with kids in school age, then you need some kind of stable suburban lifestyle for. And also where you are in your personal and family finance. Do you have the down payment for the house? And why do banks require down payment? Because down payments are kind of the bonus skin in the game, and it provides a cushion for the bank. For example, if you buy a house of $250,000, the bank generally requires you to put down 20% down payment, which is about $50,000, and that's a nice cushion for the bank. For example, if the price of the house goes down to $220,000, you're not going to abandon the house probably because you have put down $50,000, and you're going to lose that most likely. If the bank takes over the house and sells it, the bank doesn't care so long as you could get its own principal back, which is $200,000, right? The bank is not going to have an incentive to sell for the most price you could get, and there you go, goes your $50,000 down payment. So that's why they want you to put down down payment to sort of give you this incentive to work away if the house price goes down. And if you don't have a better use for your down payment, then if you are pretty stable in your life, in your career, in your earning capacity, generally speaking, you should own a house. instead of rent. And here's how why and how. And I'm going to give you the specific examples. For example, for a $250,000 house, if you pay 20%, that's $50,000 down payment. And if the interest rate is 6% and you get a 30-year long-term mortgage, the total interest payment for 30 years will be $230,000. And that's still not as high as the rent you're going to pay to your landlord over the next 30 years. Because remember, if you get a two-bedroom, right, the monthly rent payment is as high as $1,200, right? So that's $144,000, $14,000 about a year, and you multiply that by 30 years. That's money that you will never see again. Which is about which is greater than the interest payment you're gonna pay, because here the total principal and interest monthly payment is $1,200. So you can tell that initially most of your monthly payment and your annual payment here kind of aggregate for annual calculation. It goes to pay down your initially only a small chunk of your monthly mortgage payment goes to reduce your principal of your mortgage loan, and then gradually more and more of it, because your principal will always go down, and so your interest will go down, and then because you pay the same amount monthly mortgage payment, more and more of the same monthly payment goes to further reduce your principal. However, you see in the first month, right, your interest payment is $1,000, because at 6% annual interest rate, that's 0.5% monthly interest rate for $200,000 of loan, and that comes at a round number of $1,000. And since you pay about $1,200 every month, for the first month, $200 of that, about $200 will go down, will go to reduce your principal balance to the bank. And as time goes by, you see your interest payment, more and more of your monthly mortgage payment goes down to reduce your principal, and your interest payment becomes less and less because your principal amount has gone down. And so after 30 years, towards the very end of your mortgage, you will see most of your monthly payment goes to reduce your principal balance. And then for the last month, for example, only about $6 is your interest, because again, you own the bank only by the end of by the last month of your 36 months payment. You only own the bank about $1,200, and $6 of that is interest. And at the very end, after 30 long years, you have zero principal amount due to the bank. Then you own the house debt-free. And if you tweak the number just a little bit, if the interest rate goes down to 6%, 3%, for the entire mortgage, your total interest payment goes down more than by half. You see, it comes down from $231,000 to $103,000 as your total sort of your real cost of owning this house, because that's the amount you have to pay as interest expense to the bank. Everything else, you actually you are paying the principal, which you should pay anyway. If you use your own money to buy the house, that's the amount of money you have to put down anyway. So you wonder, why do people still rent apartments and public homes, right? When there are clear advantages of home ownership. As time goes by, a homeowner builds his or her own equity in the house. What does that mean? That means, more and more of the $250,000 $1,000 belongs to the homeowner. Meaning when you sell your home, you owe less and less money to the bank, and you have more and more left over for yourself, right? Because as time goes by, you know that at least in conventional mortgage, your monthly payment part of it goes to reduce your principal balance, the amount of money, net amount of money you owe the bank at that moment you to sell your house, right? And you can hear that at least at the national level, using the median housing price and median rental price that I show you in the first few slides, the homeowner actually only pay slightly more than the renter's monthly rent. Of course, there are other costs associated with home ownership, like property tax, maintenance costs. In some occasions, homeowner association fees and all that. And the devils are in the details. You actually go into the details, which will be the subject of my next lecture. But in general, in conventional mortgage, a homeowner's monthly payment is usually fixed up front. And also the rent for a renter may go up and usually should go up because of inflation. That's the advantage. Those are the advantages of owning a home, right? But why do people still rent? Because again, there are disadvantages of ownership, right? There are risk of foreclosures that if you have short-term or long-term financial difficulties, you're not able to pay this 30-year mortgage, then the bank may take over your house and sell it, right? And you may lose some or all of your equity, including down payment you have made. Because again, the bank usually does not care so much more than getting its own principal amount back whenever it takes over your house. They're going to be different. You own the bank different amount as time goes by, right? And at any given point of time, the bank, if they have to take over your house and resell it, they only care about recovering their own, principal amount that you are supposed to pay them. Then, right? If you sell your house, right? And again, that's associated with the risks of declining housing price, right? The price of your house is below the amount of debt you owe to the bank. People say you're under the water, meaning the fair market value of your house is less than the amount of money you owe to the bank. So in that kind of circumstance, just as what happened in the housing crisis, which will be the subject matter of my next lecture, a lot of people just simply abandon their houses, especially if in that state where they live, it's non-recourse loan, meaning the bank after they foreclose, after they take over and sell your house, they could not go after you for the amount of money that you still own them. So generally speaking, if a person has a down payment and income stability, he or she's better off to own a home, and then invest that money, whatever money you could save after your monthly mortgage payment, in stock market or other investment vehicles. So why don't people again, just everybody go own their house instead of renting? Actually, the home in the United States, about 2/3 of families own their home, and 2/3 of families rent. Well, because there are what I call the 3R requirements for home ownership. Resources, you need to have the resource for the down payment, and together with that, hopefully some sort of a financial stability. Right? The fact that you are able to save that much means you probably have some sort of stable income going forward as well. And then the risk of foreclosure and price decline, you need to be able to build that. You need to have some sort of a stable income and some amount of savings, right? So that if you lose your job, you have to move, or you have to relocate. Uh, you you know you you will have the time to sell your house right before you default on your mortgage payment. And then there's also the kind of practical responsibilities of maintaining physical property. Right? That's why it's called real estate, and also property tax and all that. Right? So that's why some um, senior citizens may not feel like they are physically um, comfortable looking after the house, like physically taking care of that. But if you can handle the 3 R's, then giving the price earning ratio of real properties in the United States, it actually makes sense. Um, it's called um, rental versus purchase price ratio. In the United States, it makes a lot of sense because again, the rent you're going to pay is not actually too much higher than the monthly mortgage payment. In a lot of other uh, societies, for example, like in China, um, the purchase price of the house and the rental income you could generate for you may not actually be justified for you to take the risk of home ownership. And that's today's topic. Thank you.